5月20日，蒙郡家长联合会联手李嘉信纪念基金和乌腾高中，邀请到了4位蒙郡本地华裔、现任蒙郡公校系统 MCPS 的高级社区伙伴合作关系主任 Eileen Chan Baxter、美国桑 TV 总裁 Alan Wu、目前在国防部工作的蔡珍，以及大学毕业后在华尔街工作的孟江。他们用自己的人生见解讨论如何在美国发挥自己中西合璧的优势，更好地融入这个多元化社会和取得独特的身份认同。
I would like to introduce briefly each of them. So Mr. Cai Zhen, so he's also MCPS graduate, and he came to the U.S. in 1996, right? 1997, and he graduated from Einstein High School, and he also is a University of Maryland graduate, and after that he joined the DoD Department of Defense for the federal government Navy. So he's currently a federal employee, and he's also started getting his MBA, part-time MBA at Duke University. So very young and a lot of very promising future. Next one is Alan Wu, and Alan is the CEO of the Sun TV. He was also, if you see all those interesting pictures and hats there, he's actually was a Navy officer, and he joined the military 1 week before 9/11, right?
Yes.
Yes. So 1 week before 9/11, he graduated from University of Maryland as well. So he came here in the late 80s, 1986, I think. So he graduated from university, and then he started working for Lockheed Martin. And then he decided he would join the military to serve the country. And 1 week after that, that was 9/11. He stayed with the military for 10 years, and now he's out for his own business. However, that experience really gave him some redefined sense of the military and service for the country, and for all of us to think about. The next one I have is Su Yanxi. He's probably the newest immigrant here, because he only came here to America when he was 16 in the year 2006. So he's actually only here for 11 years. So you will see we try to have the speakers as a more different variety of experience, and each of them we look at life differently, and America in their life experience. So he's graduated from Wharton here in 2009, right? Yep. Okay. And then he went to MIT. So if you one of you guys, those are tiger moms, tiger father, if you want something to get out from there, you better catch him before, okay? And he went to MIT after graduated. He works at New York City now for Capital One Finance, right? Yep. So, and we save the best for the last, okay? And that's Eileen Chan Baxter. So she is the director of current Montgomery County MCPS, the public school system, director of the community partnership, and she's directly under the superintendent's office, chief of staff. So she has direct channel to the superintendent, and she's also, as much as I know, she's been working tirelessly for Asian Americans' voice and also involvement, contribution in this county for many years. And she used to be the principal of local schools, and also come back and forward. So her experience of the local public education and the devotion is something that we should all really thankful for. So that's all for our speakers. So now I will open up a little bit, so each of them will give you introduction of the life and just saying how the overall the life and the backgrounds. And after that, we have some kind of questions, and also I report about their stories, their life events, something that very meaningful to them they would like to share with the audience, and hopefully help you all to guide your life in the future. All right, so I will start from Cai Zhen.
Can everybody hear me okay? So first of all, I just want to say I'm really glad to be here. So a friend of mine, he's I think part of the Kappa MC, and we play soccer together with friends, and he talked to me about things that you want to just come in and share your stories. I didn't know it was this kind of turnout, so I'm really glad to be here because, first of all, I haven't seen the new generations of Asians for a long time. Because after you step into society, you start working, you start getting disconnected to the younger generation. So I'm really glad to be here to see you guys, talk with you guys, connect with you guys, and hopefully my stories and my experience can help you guys out. So a little bit about myself. I immigrated to the United States in 1997 with my parents. They're also here as well. If you want to raise your hand, just say hi. So we're from Shanghai, China, and our grandparents are here, so it's just kind of a no-brainer. We want to come here and then just get connected and be together with the family. I remember it was October in 1997. It was a gloomy day. The next day, because we arrived very late in the evening, but next day, for the whole week, it was gloomy, and it's getting cold. It's not like October right now. You will see it's still shiny and a lot of leaves and stuff out. It's very cold. So my first feeling of America is it's dark, right? It's dark, and I don't have any siblings. I don't know what to do. Do I belong here or not? So that kind of carried with me for the next 2 years, and I'll talk more about that later on. So went to school here. Really hard to connect with people, especially, and during that time, I guess the school I went to, Wooten is probably in a better place. We don't have a lot of Asian Americans, let alone Chinese Americans. So went through that, and then high school is about the same situation. I'll talk more about it later. And went to Einstein, like teammate said, and then graduated from University of Maryland with a mechanical engineering degree. A lot of support from my parents, just growing up, being the grease monkey, fixing things. So that kind of just helped me determine that's what I want to major in. And after I graduated, started with DoD, just working on airplanes. Now I'm working on ships. And right now, recently, just seeing kind of how the world is changing and evolving, and how how Asian Americans, Chinese Americans, and our home country, China, has grown and developed so much. And lead me to believe that if I only know engineering, it's not enough, and I want to just learn more about business. So.
Good evening, everyone. Again, it's my honor to be here tonight to meet all of you. It's kind of unexpected when May called me up saying that, hey, do you want to share your story? I thought to myself, my life is kind of boring. I don't have much story to tell. But since she's saying that, hey, it's a whole bunch of newer generations that you might be able to share your story to inspire them. So I would say, okay, to see what I can do to using my story to share with all of us here. I came to United States when back in 1981 with the family. I have 2 younger brothers, and we spent our first few years in San Francisco. That's where all the Chinese are. In 1986, my father, he found a job here in NASA, in Greenbelt actually. So the whole family came to Maryland for the first time. When we landed, there was no Chinese. I think we were the only family in China, from China, that's what I thought. And we went to, I went to Bach Lodge Middle School, and there was no Chinese at all. And then I went to High Point High School. In High Point High School, I met my first Chinese friend in High Point, and it's just the 2 of us. The rest of them are either Caucasian or African American. So after High Point, my father passed away in 1987, sorry. So ever since then, taking care of the family gotten onto my shoulder. My mom doesn't speak much English, so I remember at that time, the 3 of us, I have 2 younger brothers, we have to go out there to look for work every summer. And I remember every time when summer comes, and it's our most depressed time, is because we have to find jobs. And at that time, there weren't much jobs all around this area. So I spent most of my time in Chinese restaurants, being as a waiter, busboys, washing dishes. And then later on, we find a job cleaning carpets. My 2 younger brothers spend a lot of their time in Roy Rogers, McDonald's, things like that to support ourselves. So after that, I went to University of Maryland College Park, and I also studied mechanical engineering. There you go, right here. I also studied mechanical engineering, and that is the time that it clicked me, because once I get to university, I see a lot more than when I was in high school, and I experienced a lot more. We had a better job at the time. I found an internship and things like this, and our life is getting better. But one thing that kept in my mind, my father, he was a very traditional Chinese scholar. He graduated from Tsinghua Daxue. So ever since I was young, when we were little, he wanted us to learn Chinese poem, Tang Shi. We need to write in 用毛笔写字. I have no idea what that thing is. I said, why is it so difficult? But it turned out to be a discipline that he wants us to still remember where we came from, our culture and things like this. And one thing my father always told me is that, Alan, no matter how hard we are in the United States, we are already 100,000 times better than when we were in China. So not just take, learn how to give back to the country. So his advice keeps in my mind ever since. So how can I give back to the country? After he passed away, I have no idea. What does it mean to give back? And then later on, the only way that I know to give back to the country is to serve. So ever since then, serving the country is deep into my root. So when I was in college, I actually applied for Naval Academy. And I got the score. My SAT score was, I think it's like 12 something. I forgot the number. I got the letter of recommendation from the governors. I got pretty much everything. The only thing that I didn't have was my citizenship. So Naval Academy won't take anybody that is not a citizen. So I said, okay, fine. That's why I went to University of Maryland College Park. After I graduated, I started to work for Lockheed Martin as test engineers. The program that I work for is called Missile Defense. Okay, so for those of us who in DoD, probably you would know that program. It was actually immigrated from Star Wars. That was a very old program that Ronald Reagan established. So ever since then, I got a chance to know a lot of my colleagues who are retired military. And they're all around me. And I was the only one that was never served in the military. So one day I got up in the morning and I talked to my boss, his name is John Johnson. I said, John, I quit. I am going to the military. So I quit and I applied for OCS, Officer Candidate School down in Pensacola. And amazingly, they accepted me. At that year, there were 233 people applied. They only accept 6 people that year. And I thought, well, it's not going to happen. So I just put in my applications and somehow, somewhat, they picked me. So I remember my first day into military school, September 4th, 2001. Okay, September 4th, 2001. And we were all gung-ho and everything, got into military school and we were so excited. I remember at that time there were like 80-some people, 60-some people in the class from all over the place. So 1 week later, September 11th, and I still remember very vividly that day. We woke up 5 o'clock in the morning. We were running around. Well, not running around. We were physical exercise in the campus. So all of a sudden, everybody ran into a cafeteria like this. And it's just kind of weird. There's so much discipline in the military. You just do not run around like chicken without heads. But people just do. So we all surprised. We all want to see what's going on. We all went into the cafeteria. And by the time we got to the cafeteria, it was like thousands, well, I shouldn't say that, hundreds of people, hundreds of cadets. And all silently watch a few TV screens right there. And on that TV screen, I remember the first tower's already hit. The smoke is coming out from the first tower. We all look at this thing and say, well, is it a Hollywood movie? What's going on? What is this thing all about? Nobody talked. It was very, very silent. But then you see the second airplane came in, boom, hit the second tower. Very quiet. Nobody talked, say anything. Then all of a sudden, at the back of the corner, somebody say, we are all going to war. So we all do, all of us. So from that point on, everybody got into the military, we all went up to we all have to got deployed. So my first deployment was in 2003. My second deployment was 2006. But my rank, it's, by the time I got out of the Navy, my rank it's lieutenant in the United States Navy. And my background is actually EDO, Engineering Duty Officer. So he makes the ships, we sell the ships. So we want to make sure that the ships that he makes, we can sell. So I spent a lot of time down in Norfolk, a lot of time down at the Navy Yard, a lot of time down at various Navy base, and we've seen a lot, we experienced a lot. And those are the days that I would never regret. With the military, there's a lot of sea stories to tell, and hopefully one day I can have the chance to tell my sons. But serving the military, it changed my life. It really changed my life, because before I went in the military, I'll just give you one small example. Before I go into the military, if I can do like 40 push-ups, 50 push-ups, that's pretty cool. But once you get into officer candidate school, they make you do push-up 100 times one time, and you have to 10 times a day. And then all of a sudden you realize that, wow, as a human being, our potential need to be pushed out. We need to push out our potential. If you do not push, you do not know what your potential is. A lot of young people right here, if you think study is hard, it's not hard. If you think that your parents are giving you a lot of pressure, it's not even close. So they have to push you, and you have to push yourself also. By the time you push yourself, by the time that you realize what you can do in life, you'll be so amazed, and you thank God every day for the life that you have. So again, I don't want to take up too much of my time. So after Navy, and then I come out and form my own business. Now I own a media company that building media platform, things like this. Not as interesting as Navy, so I always dreamed about, well, I shouldn't say dream about going back to the Navy, but I miss those times all the time. And this month, it's Memorial Day weekend. I want to say one thing. In the military, there's no freedom. In the military, young kids like yourself, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, they spend so much time, they sacrifice their freedoms for this country, seriously. And I do have friends that couldn't come back. So every Memorial Day, a group of us will get together and drink. Now, I'm not asking you to drink, guys. When I say drink, means that we get together to remember those of us who cannot come back, or come back not in one piece. And during the Memorial Weekend, while you're going to the beach, while you're having a picnic, while you're having a good time party with your friends, give a moment of silence for those who serve, and for those who pass away, and for those who cannot come back. Thank you.
Hey guys, my name is Suyan, and also it's my honor and pleasure to be here. So obviously I'm probably not quite in the same generation as the company here, and I don't have an epic or quite interesting experience, but I just hope that I can share what I had so far, and hopefully it's more of a peer with you guys. I still feel like I'm a peer with you guys. So that it can be somehow inspiring, or if not, some teachings here. So I grew up in China. I was born in a rural area, little town in China. Differently, I'm not from a big city. I'm from a rural area, and I spent my elementary school and middle school in that city, and came to the United States when I was 15. In 2006. So the first day I came here, my parents are already here, so I don't have a lot of struggle, but the real struggle begins after I come to school, this school, Wooden High School. So remember the first semester I couldn't get anything. Couldn't understand all the stuff in the classroom. Where I was kind of a good student back in China. It was a tough thing for me not to understand what's going on in the classroom. I do feel less confident or not as good. But I get a lot of help from school here, honestly, because I feel like different from Jen or Alan. When I joined in the United States, they've already have a lot of programs that help the students and help this English as a second language students to pick stuff up. So after a few months, I can really get into the class and be integrated in the school. And then I did have a good time here. I remember in the morning I came to this cafeteria, had a breakfast, and go to take math competition exams here. So wasn't had a lot of challenge until I go to MIT, where because as Asian students, you always feel like you are the smart person, you outbeat others. But in MIT, you meet a lot of smart people, so you cannot identify yourself with your intelligence and stuff. So you have to figure out the new identity, and I think that's where the new struggle begins. I think so. This is a trip that I'm still exploring, and I'm trying to. Sorry, how to say this? Be more integrated with the community, serve more, and build up my family well. I mean, it's a challenge to be an Asian American here, but I think identity is something to be explored and to be fight ourselves. So, thanks.
Hi, I heard maybe try to stand so you guys can see. So I do have some notes I have to look down, and I might go off my bullets just kind of hearing everybody else speak. My name's Elaine Chang Baxter. I'm the Director of Partnerships for Montgomery County Public Schools. I was actually born in the United States. I went to Montgomery County Public Schools, kindergarten all the way through high school, George and Forest Elementary, Yearbrook Lee Middle School, and John F. Kennedy High School. I have never fit the Asian mold or the typical, and I've never, my parents are here, right here in the front, and wave your hands. So I'm gonna share my perspective, and you can talk to them about their perspective. I wouldn't say I'm rebellious, but I think I definitely was challenging to raise, as my parents have told me. I'm always the child that asks why, and you have to give me a good reason, otherwise I kind of would keep pressing you, and that was annoying for them. When you tell me to marry a Chinese person, my husband's white, you tell me, look for the big nose and big ear Chinese guy, I couldn't find that guy. Either you're, it'd be great if you can be a doctor, an attorney, or, pursue business. Or if you don't do that, then marry somebody that does that. I pursued being a teacher. My husband is a sheriff in Montgomery County, so I married a cop. So, I'm just not your traditional. I attended the University of Pennsylvania, and I remember my parents' mahjong friends asking, so I went to University of Pennsylvania, oh, cool, congratulations, right? But then I decided to major in education. Oh, wait, major in education, True Wharton, So I didn't fit the mold yet again because I decided to pursue a degree in education and not get the degree from Wharton. I do have a master's degree from Johns Hopkins. I have an administrative certification. I'm certified to be a superintendent in the state of Maryland, but I don't really care about that. I don't care to pursue that. So that's a little bit about my background. I became a teacher. I've always loved kids, and I've always loved helping people. And so my journey has just been observant about, gosh, if somebody had some better ways to teach me, maybe I would have learned more. And I love Montgomery County schools. I loved it growing up. I loved it as a teacher, and I love it. I still love it because it's an ever-changing school system. But when I was taught in Montgomery County schools, we weren't applying our thinking. We weren't asked to, you're first of all Asian, so you're not necessarily speaking up and offering your opinion, although I did probably a little bit more than I probably should have growing up. But you're not really asked to, you're very respectful to your elders, you don't question anything. But we're not applying our thinking, and then my education, you read everything. Hopefully school's not like this anymore. I don't know about the high school students. You guys tell me, because now I'm high up, so I need to make some institutional changes. But it was about reading paragraphs, chapters, responding to A, B, C, D, multiple choice questions at the end. When I got to Penn, I did not know how to apply my thinking, and at the University of Pennsylvania was the first time I was actually challenged. What did Skinner do in this scenario? I'm like, oh my gosh, or how would so-and-so resolve this? What methods would they take? And I'm like, oh I don't know how to do. So my first year, even though I was a great student here in Montgomery County Schools, ABCD, University of Pennsylvania, and I had to sit down with myself and ask, am I wasting my parents' money? And then I had to actually reteach myself how to learn. And I had a strong opinion about football players being, maybe more dumb, stupid, whatever, bulky guys. Football player ended up tutoring me in college, and my husband is a former football player. So you can't have these biases and opinions and stereotypes out there. There's a lot I want to share, because as I'm listening to the panelists, when you're talking about 9/11 and Department of Defense, my father was still working at Department of Defense when 9/11 played out. I've been a school-based administrator for our school system for so long. I have been in a school, running a school during 9/11, during the sniper attacks, during a real bomb threat, during a fire, during Columbine, during Newtown, Connecticut. And every time you're an administrator in a school, you're re-putting safety procedures in place, and you're thinking about the kids and the parents, and how do you communicate out immediately that the kids are safe, the education's still going on, and we're offering a great program. Just a little bit about myself. Since we're in the Wooten community, I was formerly the principal of Lakewood Elementary years ago. Do you remember me, some of you? Maybe I taught your siblings, or you go there now, so that's very exciting. I've twice been in the school system central office. I worked for a deputy superintendent in charge of technology rollout and staff development, so we could, there are lots of things that I could talk to you guys about, and I'm trying to think about what might be more important. I was brought up speaking both Mandarin and English, and I think that's a good thing. I went to Meihua Chinese School for 10 years, and I think that's a good thing. So if you guys don't like Chinese school, sorry, I think it's a good thing for you. Because I speak Chinese now, and in lots of roles, I know the kids are like, oh great, let's have her stop talking. It's important because my Chinese is not great, but the other administrators or teachers in Montgomery County schools, they're Chinese, they don't even speak it, or it's worse. And it's come in very handy when a parent comes from China to my school when I was principal. I was also principal of Garrett Park Elementary in the Walter Johnson cluster. The parent doesn't speak any English, they can just say, Sheltong on the phone, or principal on the phone, and then my secretaries immediately transferred it to me, and I could help them figure something out. So, in our school system, if you want to work in Montgomery County schools, we can talk about all the different jobs that you could possibly pursue. But in Montgomery County, the pulse here is to diversify our staff, diversify our school system, and engage with our parents so that we can better support each other and figure that out. And we need your help. So I'll be doing some feedback groups too with Kappa. So I wanted to tell students here that I actually was an ESOL student in kindergarten, even though I was born here. Because my dad's job went back to Taiwan, so we moved when I was 4 for a year, lived in Taiwan and came back, and my parents enrolled me in a Chinese-speaking school in Taiwan, and so I lost all of my English and I had to relearn it, and I've always had this drive, so my kindergarten teacher asked me, do you need help, and I'm like, no, and I got every question wrong. I remember something. So I was driven by my personal experiences and also observance, so I watched how people treated my parents in parent meetings, because they weren't necessarily patient, or I got in trouble one time. A teacher wrote a note, and my mom had no idea what it meant, but she knew I was in trouble, so I was in bigger trouble. I wasn't allowed to go to the school dance, and I told my mom what I did, and she's like, well, that's not a big thing, and I'm like, well, can I go to the school dance? No, so I'd had to go back to my teacher and ask him to write something in more layman's terms so I could help my mom understand what it is I did, because she wasn't believing me, she was trusting my teacher. But all of these experiences, you don't want to hear me anymore? All of these experiences have molded me. I'm always true to believe that I'm a teacher always, even though I'm in a different position. And when I work with parents in the school system, how do I best support them? So if we're in a meeting and your child has special needs, I'm always make sure that the parent understands what's going on. And so as I hired staff and I started to run schools, you know, I try to be as supportive as I can for the good of each and every child that was in my school. And now I get to, so a little bit about my job. So one of my messages is allow your children to pursue their passions, because when they're passionate, they become passion. And there was no path that I pursued. It wasn't like teacher to become a principal. I didn't care to become a principal. I didn't care to become an assistant principal. I did want to work in partnership for the school system. And I've interviewed for various jobs. I've been turned down. I've been like the second person, you know, always made it to number 2, but never number 1. And I've always dealt with, I've always had fun building partnerships. So you've got to persevere. You've got to have your passions, and then just let life lead you where you are. And parents, try not to influence too much and worry about money and how much you make, because I'm doing A-OK, having become a teacher in the school system, because I followed my own pathway. And so I just want to tell you a little bit about what I do, because I invite you to keep in touch with me or get in touch with Julie or Ting Mei, and you know, we can have other follow-up meetings. But I work on superintendent initiatives, and there are a lot of really exciting initiatives. Our superintendent is from, was the superintendent of the state of Maryland, so he has not just Maryland perspective, but international perspective. I feel like his belief system and my belief systems are right in line, and so very exciting on a daily basis. I get to work on what I believe is good for kids, good for parents, and then I like to throw in good for staff, having been a principal, school-based administrator for 17 years of my life. And so our superintendent is looking at opening a STEM center, so I'm also writing down notes about different people with mechanical engineering background and owning their companies. We're always looking for investments. We're going to open up a STEM center at an elementary school for the first time, one of many regionally across our school system. I work on really high-level partnerships to enhance school programming, or to definitely to enhance opportunities for students. Are there any juniors and seniors, rising juniors and seniors in the audience? Rising juniors and seniors? Have you guys heard about Summer Rise? Summer Rise is a summer career shadowing experience for 3 weeks of summer. That's one of my projects. So our superintendent is trying to expose more students more often to different careers, because all of our parents don't necessarily have the know-how to expose you to lots of different careers. We're trying to offer a lot more arts programs. We're trying to really enhance programming across the school system, and I get to work on that. You know, he's talking about one day maybe having like a Juilliard for the arts here in Montgomery County Schools. So I get to work on, he's actually talking about pre-K for parents that need it. He's talking about year-round school, kindergarten, first and second graders, so if you have little siblings at some point, to build that strong foundation so we're not having reading and math gaps by the time we're in 3rd grade. So there are lots of really great projects. I'm actually in charge of coming up with ideas on how to better outreach to our parents and how have our parents feel supported, whether it's through translations or other means to help you help your kids. So it's very exciting for me. I would not have left being a principal had it not been for this job. Otherwise I would have just been happy being a principal, because not all jobs, and so I get to turn down jobs. Not all jobs I care for. It has to be aligned with what I'm passionate about doing and where I think I can make a difference. So thank you.